Syria. I'm here today with Abdallah Barhi, who is my colleague, and also Nida, who joined us. She's also working as a GIS specialist in the World Food Program in Amman. We're very happy to be here today and to be part of this project of the GeoIT collaboration. I'm very pleased that I met Dr. Wahib. It was actually an accident. We met accidentally, but then we started working together. And in today's presentation, I have prepared some slides in order to show you, to talk a bit about WFP, what we do and how we do it. And then we're going to move and talk a bit about GIS and Geospatial in World Food Program, how we use them to support our operations, decision making, and the people. A bit about myself. I have acquired my master's degree from the Technical University of Berlin. It's close by to the Freie Universität of Berlin. And since then I was working as a GIS developer. Oh yes, my voice is not so loud. Thank you. Okay, can you hear me? Yes. I think it's good now. Thank you. Awesome. I have acquired my master's degree in geoinformatics from the Technical University of Berlin, and since then I was working as a WebGIS developer and GIS analyst. In 2016, I've joined World Food Program in Rome, where I was working mainly in the GIS development of open source projects, such as GeoNode, and also we were expanding our WFP SDI infrastructure in the Middle East. So since then, we had missions in Jordan, Lebanon, and also in Syria. And since 2020, I have the honor to lead the Geospatial team in Damascus. We were actually building this GIS team at World Food Program from scratch. Also, I would like to present briefly my colleague Abdallah Barhi, who also holds a master in photogrammetry and remote sensing from the University of Aleppo. And since 2020, he's also a candidate, a PhD candidate in the same topic, photogrammetry and remote sensing. He has experience as a lecturer at Aleppo University, and in 2021 he became part of the GIS team in Damascus, and together we work in remote sensing and GIS. So today I will briefly talk a bit about WFP, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Later I will say some stuff about the Geospatial in WFP, and then I'm going to showcase three different topics of usage of GIS and remote sensing technology. These three different projects, it's things that we worked during the last 1 year. So the World Food Program is the leading humanitarian organization delivering food assistance in emergencies and working with communities to improve nutrition and build resilience. We work in more than 80 countries, and we serve more than 95 million people every year. We go wherever is needed and wherever help is asked. I would like to showcase some of these areas based on what has happened the last year. Probably you heard of the droughts in southern Madagascar. The droughts there are some most acute droughts in the last 4 decades. There is more than 1.1 million people unable to feed themselves, and on top of that, there are unexpected sandstorms covering the farmlands and the pastures, which makes the situation for agriculture and farming even more difficult. It is estimated that the food production is expected to be less than 50% of the last 5-year average. These are all consequences of the climate change. We see these things happening more and more. We saw the floods in Germany this year. We saw the fires in Greece, how they burned, how we had a prolonged period of extreme temperatures, that they prepared the ground and the forests, they dried all the water, and then we had these extreme fires in the Mediterranean, in Turkey, in Greece. So this is an example, a taste of what is going to come the next years, as a consequence of the climate change. WFP also operates in areas of conflict, in areas that there is a war. This is a picture from the Kuba refugee camp in Sudan. We had, in November 2020, there was a violence erupted in the northern parts of Ethiopia, in Tigray, and thousands of people, they moved to Sudan. And by February 2021, we had more than 60,000 refugees there. So WFP is there providing assistance. Last, another example is the earthquake that took place in Haiti on 14th of August. More than 650,000 people, they were affected. There were 2,200 deaths, and 53,000 homes were destroyed, much more they were damaged. So also WFP was there. We have provided assistance, food assistance, to around 250,000 people. So how do we do that? How do we provide this assistance? I would briefly showcase the main programs of WFP providing this assistance. We do this through different ways. The most known one and direct one is the general food distribution. We actually give food to the beneficiaries. We provide them with wheat, flour, and vegetable oil, and they can actually use this food to feed themselves. We have school feeding activities where we provide to the people, to the students, food, and they also come at school in order to receive the food. That way we ensure that they actually have access to education and nutritious food. In some cases, we provide cash. We provide money to the people, and then they can go to a selected number of shops and choose what they want to buy. And in the end, we work with local communities and other entities and UN agencies in order to build, to have a sustainable development. So in certain cases, we rehabilitate community projects. Sorry, Dr. Ahmad?
He cannot hear.
Oh, maybe it's because this is closed, or? Zoom quick. Dr. Ahmad? Okay. Dr. Ahmad, can you hear us? You're muted. Can you hear us?
Yes, now I'm hearing you.
Perfect. Okay, so WFP is working also with livelihood projects, where we work with local communities to rehabilitate projects such as bakeries, irrigation canals, or we provide assistance by giving to the beneficiaries the equipment, for example, to develop their own kitchen gardens and be able to feed themselves. So now that we have talked briefly about WFP, what we do, where we work, and how we do it, I would like to say some stuff about the geospatial in the organization. The aim of the geospatial and remote sensing in WFP, in the humanitarian context, but also in all the other areas, is a supporting role. GIS and remote sensing is not the protagonist, is not running the show, but is the tool in order to support decisions and support our operations in preparedness and in response. So WFP, as we said, has presence in over 80 countries. In the headquarters in Rome, there are large GIS and remote sensing teams. They're working on Earth observation, they're working in GIS development, analysis, mapping. And in the country offices, we have, in around 54 countries, we have GIS presence. We have colleagues that they are beginners in GIS and they do basic mapping. And then we have colleagues that they are more advanced and they're working also with GIS analysis, GIS development, Earth and Earth observation. What kind of tools we're using? We are using whatever is available in order to do our job. We're using a lot of open source technologies. We're using QGIS, PostGIS, PostgreSQL. We are a big fan of open source. Myself, I was a GIS developer. We have our GeoNode platform, which is a SDI spatial database where we upload all our maps. We have a collaboration with Esri, and we make also usage of ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online. Of course, Google Earth Engine, it's it's the new kid in town, and we use it quite a lot to process our data fast and use the compute power of the Google Earth Engine services. OSM data is a main source for our data sets when it comes to populated places, to road networks, and to areas of use. And of course, we do our mobile data collection with ODK or Survey 123 or COBO. So I would like to present now shortly 3 different case studies that we have worked during the last year, and they are focused in Syria, since we are working in the Syria country office. And hopefully through these examples you will be able to see the relation of WFP operations, the context we're working, and our work, and how Geospatial is supporting these operations. So the first one is related with the continued low precipitation that we had the last year in the area of Levant, in Turkey, in Syria, but also in the broader area. And that had, as a consequence, we had a dramatic decrease in the water levels of Euphrates, and also like the lakes, the dam lakes in Syria. So the population in Euphrates basin is heavily dependent on the water for electricity, for irrigation, and for drinking water. So the water there is the main source of life, and is very important for the economy. So by having like these water levels going low, there is a high risk of food insecurity in the area. We were asked to have a very fast understanding and a very early understanding of the situation, and we had to answer questions such as, what is the decrease of the water surface in the lake dams, for example the Lake Assad, and how many people live in the areas around the lake, and what is the geographical distribution of the population, which they could be, they could go to food insecurity. What we have done is like we have used remote sensing, we have used Landsat, we have used Sentinel imagery, and we have estimated the NDWI index, the normalized difference water index, in order to estimate the decreased water surface. So what you see here, the red one, was actually water. In June 2020, the red areas, they were covered with water. As of June 2021, they are dry. And then the next thing we wanted to do is like, we wanted to compare different years. We wanted to see if this is some kind of trend, if there is like a continuity in this event. So that's why my colleague Abdallah, he had compared different years, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2021, and indeed what we have seen is like that during the water area was bigger in 2008, and now it's less by 2021. We have also used data from WorldPop, which is like population estimates, raster data, in combination with our food insecurity data, and we have identified on the map locations that on the river that the population is more than 50% per square kilometer. So what we see in this map here is essentially, here we have the river. This is the canal that takes water from the Lake Assad. So we have 2 dams here, the Tisrin Dam and the Tabqa Dam. This is the Lake Assad. And then from here, there is a canal that takes water to Aleppo. So obviously, the water is very important, not only for the rural areas, but also for Aleppo. So we have identified, we have used our population data together with our food insecurity, and we have created this layer which indicates the geographical distribution of the people. And obviously, you can see that around the river, there are more people living because there is more activity, there are more agricultural activity. And also even here, there is another river. That's why you can see like this population. I think so. I think it's Al-Khabur. Huh?
Yes.
Yes, it's kind of dry, but still there is population. There are small villages, and so this is an example of using geospatial intelligence. I like to say geospatial intelligence to identify and to, without going in the field, to be able to understand, to have an understanding of the situation. The next topic is related with the wildfires. Some of you, if you have participated in the webinar in May, maybe you've seen my presentation on the wildfires. That's why I will be quite brief. Unfortunately, last September and October, in the governorates of Latakia and Tartus, there were big fires. They have burned around 30,000 hectares of agricultural land and forested land. And this is, the wildfires, of course, they had a big impact in the local communities, the villages, the mountainous villages there. They depend on the agriculture. There are lots of orchard trees, apples, and olives that they support them in the income. So what we were asked was like to have a very quick estimate of what was the burned area and how big was this burned area. For that, we have used open data from firms, from NASA, that they're actually using MODIS and NDVI sensors. They saw the temperature difference on the surface of the Earth, and they tag these events as fire events. So that was the first estimate. By downloading this data, by putting them on the map, we could see, okay, there were fires there, but let's have a closer look. So then we had to wait a couple of days because Sentinel data with resolution 10 meters is not available always when we want them. We waited a couple of days, we got the Sentinel data. Luckily, there was no cloud coverage. We were able to verify indeed before and after there was like a huge impact of the fires there. And then we wanted to calculate, as a next step, we wanted to use Google Earth Engine, we want to use remote sensing to identify the area, how big it was. So for that, we have calculated the normalized burn ratio for before and after the fires, and we have estimated the hectares per district and per governorate. And that was like, I believe, from a GIS remote sensing perspective for WFP, of course, because the Syria government also was working at the same time. Dr. Ahmad and from GORS, they were also working in estimating the fires and with their own information. But for us, it was the first estimate in terms of how big was the area that was affected, and that informed the decisions for WFP. So. Yes, we were actually quite satisfied with the results. Later that year, we had a validation of the results. We had a field mission where we actually verified, indeed, we went to Latakia, we met with the Directorate of Agriculture and Forestry there. They actually verified that the areas that we have calculated as burned, indeed, they were affected by the fires. So it was also an opportunity for us to verify that our analysis is valid. The last point is something not really related with GIS. This is we're making use of S3 technology, and we're creating like our operations dashboard. This is not really related with Earth observation, but is another big project we're working on. Essentially, we're putting a lot of data together. We're working on building operations dashboard where we represent information regarding food security, the road networks, the boundaries, and we're working in automating all this data incoming in our dashboard. For example, here you can see the red dots. They are the fire incidents. They are coming from NASA as a WMS service. We display this information on the platform, and this is another type of project that we work in the organization. So finally, I would like to close this presentation. Maybe it took some more time. I would like to close with this slide, which I like a lot, because essentially what we see here is the geospatial world and how big and different can be, how many different sections we have when we're talking about geospatial. There is the geospatial data, the acquirement of this data, which can be done through mobile data collection applications, through drones, through surveying, and then we have the GIS mapping and analysis, which is a whole universe by itself, using technologies like FME, QGIS, S3, and then also like programming libraries, Python, etc. And then we have the GIS database administration with the databases, with now we can see how everything is moving to the cloud, and remote sensing, of course. And in the end, we have the GIS development, which is also the web GIS is a whole different universe again, with the web GIS development, building the spatial data infrastructures, the SDIs, or customized applications through Python. So what I want to say with that is like that GIS is a whole ecosystem of different technologies that keeps evolving, it keeps growing, and it's, as GIS professionals, it's our responsibility to stay in tune with this. So that's why I'm very happy being part of this collaboration, taking the latest technological tools such as Google Earth Engine, such as the power of remote sensing through the cloud computing, and bringing it to using it and bringing it to the students and teaching them how to use it. So we are very excited that tomorrow, Abdallah and myself, we will be able to run a workshop in the usage of Google Earth Engine and how to use it in order to conduct an impact assessment. And I hope I see you all there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.